Hey y'all, unskippable cutscene here. So I've been playing the Guild Wars franchise since about 2005 when I beta tested Guild Wars 1. Now, I love Guild Wars, I think Guild Wars 2 is great, but one of my biggest issues with the game is the condition system. So in Guild Wars 1, there were 10 conditions. Most of those translated over to Guild Wars 2 with pretty similar effects. Guild Wars 1 also had something called hexes, which could basically punish you for using skills, attacking, or pretty much doing anything else. Those hexes all got rolled into the confusion and torment conditions in Guild Wars 2. Now, in the original Guild Wars, conditions had a fixed effect. Bleeding dealt a small amount of damage every second, and burning did a large amount of damage every second. There was no such thing as a condition damage stat, and you couldn't stack multiple of the same condition on an enemy. There was only condition duration. So now in Guild Wars 2, they took away hexes, which used to scale with your attributes, and they tried to merge that attribute scaling damage into conditions, and that's really where everything went wrong. So one of the biggest issues with conditions is that you have absolutely no way of knowing how much damage you're going to take when they're on you. In Guild Wars 1, it was super clear. You had a fixed amount of visible health degeneration. In Guild Wars 2, you could have a stack of bleeding applied to you by one person and a stack of burning applied to you by another, and the bleeding could end up doing more damage per second even though it's a weaker base condition. When you've got multiple people putting the same condition on you, good luck trying to figure out where that damage is, or if they're high damaging stacks, or who put more of them on you. So another ridiculous mechanic for conditions in Guild Wars 2 is that the amount of damage they can do can actually change after they've been applied. If somebody puts a bleed on me and then they switch to a weapon set with bonus condition damage, I'm suddenly going to take more damage per tick. So how does that make any sense? What also doesn't make sense is that there's no difference between removing 1 stack of bleed or 25 stacks of bleed. So even though conditions are applied by stack, they're removed all at once. Other than the damage conditions, the other conditions are more control-oriented, which is just like Guild Wars 1. A lot of them are actually even the same. Totally separate from conditions are crowd control effects like stun, daze, knockdown, etc. So that's fine. These hard crowd control effects make you lose control of your character. Now, what's really weird is that for some reason ArenaNet decided to sneak fear and taunt into the condition category. So since fear deals damage now, I guess I can kind of live with the fact that it's in the condition category, but it's weird. But taunt makes absolutely no sense. Taunt doesn't do any damage, it just takes over your controls and makes you auto-attack. But since fear and taunt are both control effects, they can be removed by any ability that breaks stuns. That literally doesn't make any sense. You're removing a condition with an ability that's supposed to clear crowd control effects. What can ArenaNet even do about that? So right now, conditions can be really unclear. So the first thing that absolutely needs to change is that conditions need to deal a set amount of damage that can't change after they've been applied. They also need some form of indicator as to how much damage they're going to deal over the remainder of the condition application. So since stacks mean absolutely nothing right now, they could make the stack count actually represent the underlying damage that's still to be delivered over the duration. So yes, you still wouldn't know how much damage you're going to take on any given tick, but at least you'd know how much damage is hiding in that little condition icon and is yet to be delivered. This is pretty straightforward for bleeding, burning, and poison. For example, if you had 5 stacks of burning and the condition has a 3-second duration, you'd know that you were going to take 5,000 damage over those 3 seconds. For confusion and torment, the DOT needs to be removed. They're basically hexes, so they should really only punish you when you're actually taking those actions. So here, instead of making the stack actually represent, a damage over time component, they could make the stack number represent the damage taken when you activate a skill for confusion, or every second that you're moving or not moving based on how ArenaNet decides to define torment these days. On the actual skill description, ArenaNet wouldn't even need to list the number of stacks you apply anymore because it's just going to show you the total damage. It's the exact same thing they do for strike damage, and they could actually just decide the base condition damage per skill instead of having to do a 1, 2, 3x multiplier for the number of conditions you're applying. For soft control effects like chilled, cripple, weakness, all that stuff, those can totally just stay the same. They just stack duration, perfectly clear. The last thing, fear needs to have its damage removed. So fear and taunt are really control effects and they should be moved into the control category. And with that, I think they'd make conditions a lot more clear and a lot more consistent as well. So let me know what you think. Obviously, I feel very strongly about this, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Like this, dislike this. Tell me what you think. Unskippable cutscene. Thanks for listening.